How's it gonna work? There we go. Okay, now we're cooking. Sweet. How's everyone doing today?
Dave,
Yes? Sweet. Steve, long time no see, bud. How's it going?
doing good. Doing good.
Score. Been doing anything fun?
Took my son to college for his second year.
Oh, cool. Where's he going?
Harvey Mudd.
Harvey Mudd. Okay, where is that? I don't even know where is that?
So in Southern California, Claremont, Pomona. It's kind of the east side of LA.
Oh, okay. Cool. A lot of these colleges, you recognize the name, but you're like, I have no clue where it is, you know?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Um, well, here, let me let everyone in this. So there's a few people watching on YouTube. Um, I want to find the Zoom. Here is the link. All right. Okay. Um, shipped a cool update this morning, actually. There's two updates I'll go over to start off with just for fun. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I did an update to Impact that was for a user on the community. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, I forgot I never added that. It's crazy. So you guys have used Impact. Most of you probably have. It's one of my more popular, most used stacks, I think. By default, you can just supply a image, right? And if you were using Foundation One, I actually created like a Foundation One image stack for Impact that allowed you to create, or here, I'll just add it. I'll show you guys. Yeah. All right. Well, that's the new one. Let's show the old one. All right. So the original one, the default was you just supply a image, and then that single image was used across all devices, right? And then for Foundation One, I had a foundation image slide, which allowed you to define mobile, tablet, and desktop and whatnot. But that was for Foundation One, and I never created that for Foundation Six. And to be honest, like, I mean, browsers have come a long way since I originally released this foundation image slide. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to release that feature for everybody, whether or not you're using foundation or not. So the new default slide is now an impact picture slide. The old image slide still exists, but this is now the new default, and it allows you to supply a small, medium, and large image. And then if you want a warehouse, it'll support warehoused image as well. So yeah, it's took me like 20 minutes maybe. So yeah, it was I was just kind of surprised. I was like, how did I not add this before? So yeah, cool. It's nice update to Impact actually. That makes things I think a lot nicer. Um and what one of the users wanted to do today, here let's just show you a quick demo. Let's say you should actually, I think there could possibly be a bug. So let's test this out. If you only supply a small image, it should still work. And he was saying it wasn't, but it does for me. Okay, that's good. Okay, so that works. Now, Aaron, let's move this out of the container since we probably want it like full width. Uh, oh, I took it outside of the impact. That's not what we wanted. We want to put it the whole impact outside. There we go. That's what I was expecting. Okay, so impact full screen, blah blah blah. But so let's go ahead and add in. Now I'm going to add in completely different images just so that we can see the change, right? Normally you would have the same image multiple times, just maybe resized. And the situation that the user on the community wanted was his image had a logo on it. And if you've ever used Impact, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you see all of the image, right? It kind of fills the space that you define. And on with his image, it looked great on desktop and tablet, but on mobile, which was smaller, his logo was getting chopped off, right? And that's because his image is a widescreen image. Yet on mobile, it's going to be like a portrait size. So in this case, what you'd probably want to do is, let's say here for fun, let's do this, right? Why not? All right, let's experiment. I will create a copy of this Statue of Liberty image really quick. Let's go over here. All right. And on mobile, what I'm going to do, now this image isn't actually very large pixel wise, so that's why it looked a little grainy. But let's say I want to do that. I'm going to create a version that's just that, okay, on mobile, right? So that's going to be my mobile image. And then on medium and above, we're going to do the larger version. Okay, let's test that. So now you'll see that on mobile, it uses just the Statue of Liberty image. And then as we get larger, it morphs, right? So that's how you can kind of define, provide different images based on the size of the or the width of the browser. There we go. Any questions on that? Pretty simple update. Again, it's one of those ones where I can't believe I didn't do it sooner. So there we are. Okay. Oops, what's going on? All right. Next update is one that is quite different. I actually shipped this last week and I forgot to mention it. I was going to talk about it on the Hangout last week, but now we'll do it in this Hangout. Oh, let's close that. There is a new bento stack. Right. And it's called bento container. Oh, I just realized that looking at this, I was going to create a new icon for that. So it's a different color. Guess I'll have to ship an update this week. So it's its own color. Okay, but there's bento container. And so what does bento container do? It's just a different type of container. Okay. And similarly to, Foundation, we have a container. And normally this is just a way to kind of like group things inside of a section of a page or whatnot, right? And another thing in Foundation 6 a container does is it's the one stack that actually maintains the site width settings from site styles, right? So yeah, but bento container does something else. Okay, so it's another type of container. And I debated whether or not to add like Foundation 6 specific features to it, like doing the site width and stuff. I decided against that for now. So if you wanted it to, maintain the site width, you'll still need to use the Foundation 6 container. Okay. But what bento container does is it will help us with spacing between items within the container. Okay. So for example, let's just go ahead and let's just add in let's add some pictures. All right, let's just add a picture. All right. And let me find a skinny picture. I think I have some here. Look at this. This will be perfect, I think. Okay. And I'm just gonna copy paste that a bunch of times and preview. All right. So what bento container will do, and actually for fun, let's just set this to 0. Okay. Maybe I should default it to 0. Probably not. All right. So right now, I just have all these picture stacks on top of each other inside the bento container. Okay. If you notice, I changed, there's a gap setting here. Okay. And what that gap setting does is it sets the gap between all of the items inside of the container. Okay. So let's set this back to the default. I just set it to 16, and you can set the all the various breakpoints. And in this, I even allow you to customize the breakpoints because all the other bento stacks allow you to do that. Okay. So I added that feature in this stack as well. Okay. There are some other settings that we can do, like you can customize the HTML tag just like you can in the Foundation 6 container. You can provide some accessibility stuff. And then some of the other stuff, like you can give it an anchor ID and custom attributes and custom classes, just like the other container. Okay. But the big thing here is just being able to provide a uniform width between all of the items within a layout, right? So instead of me having to go here and add bottom margins to everything or top margins, depending on how you want to do it, right? This just allows you to give you a uniform, quick way of evenly spacing out all of the items inside of a layout. Right. And obviously you can have that different sizes on depending on the breakpoint. So if on large you wanted it a little bit different, let's say you wanted 24, and then I don't know, 20, and then 18, and then 16. Okay. And we can preview that. And then based on the width, the gap will, I mean, it I don't know if you guys can see it. It is going down slightly as it goes down, but it's only going by 2 pixels, so you can't really notice that much. Okay. But yeah. I think it's a very simple stack, but what made me think of this is as I was building out the Total CMS 3 admin area, which we can dive into a little bit later today if anyone is curious. I was, instead of adding like bottom margins to everything, I was just using this basically a CSS grid with a gap, and I thought it was a nice workflow. And so what's nice about this is if we look at it, let's look at the technical parts of it. Okay. So here is here, let's go ahead and let's move it to the side. All right. All right. If you look at so that is the bento container, and the purple that we see there is all of the gaps. Now, one thing you'll notice is that there's no gap at the top, right? And if we look at the bottom, there's no gap at the bottom. So it's smart in that it only does the gap between the items, not at the top and not at the bottom. So yeah, really cool. Now, this situation, let's say we wanted this was going to be a layout, let's say, okay, and I had let's add some text, right? Or let's add in a header. Okay. So let's say below each image, I have a header. Okay. And let's make it like an H5 or something like that. Okay. Let's just do the first couple so that it's okay. So let's preview that. Okay. Now, with this particular layout, maybe I don't want that space because maybe I want this to kind of like be hugged tighter to the image. And what the bento container is doing is adding that gap, because basically it's looking at every single child. Okay. And adding in a gap between every direct child of the container. So a way around that, let's say I wanted to have this picture in this header kind of be one section or one unit, okay? The simple solution here is just chuck a container in there, okay? And then add the picture and the header inside of that, right? And here we can even do maybe that. Now, here, I'm gonna do that, dude. Just copy paste that a couple times, right? And now you'll notice now that the header and the image are directly with each other, but then there's a gap between that and the next one. And the reason for that is the image and the header are no longer the direct children of the bento container, right? It's that other container that I added, the little wrapper, right? Does that make sense? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much else to show with the bento container. It's I think a pretty simple stack that will just be kind of a useful little layout tool. What are you guys' thoughts?
Did you ship this already?
Yeah, I shipped it last week.
That's not showing up for me.
Should be bento 1.5. Did I ship it? I swore I shipped it.
I've got 1.5 and the container's not there.
Bento 1.5. Oh, no, Bento 1.5 was something different. I'm wrong. I didn't ship this. I'm sorry. That's funny. Oh yeah, that's funny. I think okay, I didn't ship it because I wanted feedback from my Hangout on Friday. That's what it was. And so I didn't ship it because I wanted to kind of show it off and get feedback from what, and thoughts on what people thought about it. So yeah, what do you guys think about it? You think it's simple and nice and shippable? What do you think?
Can it be applied to an existing I put that on the YouTube chat, but realized it's here. Can this be applied to, let's say, one of the existing bento layouts that I've done? Do I throw everything into a container?
No, I mean, if you already have a bento layout, the bento layout that you're using already has a gap property, so you don't even need it, right? So yeah, you wouldn't use this with a bento, with either the bento areas or the bento grid or whatever. This would just kind of be again, it's just a layout tool where you just have, yeah, some flowing text or something like that, where you just wanted to have even spacing, uniform spacing between everything. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember why I didn't ship it yet. Also, is I thought this would be an interesting swatch. That's right. Okay, now it's all coming back to me now, guys. Okay, so yeah, I thought making this a swatch so that you could maybe add that as a class to a container would be nice, right? So that you can just have this nice little layout gapping, and so then you could just have this reusable class that you can add to a container or whatever, right? And then it would, whatever's directly inside of it would evenly space everything inside of it out. What do you guys think?
Would it be better called Gapper? Make it the Gapper. We have the
Gapper?
toggler. Call it the
Yeah.
Gapper. I don't see bento as the container. I see it more as a Gapper thing,
Okay.
or
Maybe,
spacer.
I can call it a bento gap swatch.
But bento is a container, isn't it?
Yeah, see, in this case, I like it being called container, but maybe the swatch I can call it gap. But the bento container, it is a container, right? So,
But it
yeah.
could be used outside of bento. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I mean all the bento stacks are used independently, right? So, it's just a part of the bento product suite, and the reason is because, well, it uses CSS grid, and bento is kind of like the CSS grid stack.
Yeah.
So that's why I put it in there. Even though it doesn't necessarily create a grid, it's a very, again, think of it as a one-dimensional grid, baby, maybe where it's just one column, right? But the gap, I like the gap. I think it's nice.
How would this apply to, let's say, bento container, and then you have a container with a couple of columns in it, with items in those columns?
So okay, so here, well, so you have two columns, and what do you have inside column A?
Let's say you have, this is my header, and then you have the picture on the right side, and you want to balance that out a little bit better.
All right, well, so you have this and that.
Or you might have, let's say, a gallery of pictures.
So,
Let's say you do another one with
but again,
just two pictures.
so this is purely about vertical spacing. That's all this is,
Okay.
right? So I mean, if you want to have spacing between these two columns, then I mean, we already have those settings inside of the column stacks, right?
No, I'm saying between the two columns, let's say you keep adding stuff at the bottom of the two columns, and
Uh-huh.
or
Yep.
you have the bento container inside of a column stack. Could you put two of them side by side? I guess that's really what my question is.
So I'm thinking you're thinking so something like this. Watch here,
Yeah.
hold on a second. Right?
Yeah, kind of like that. But if you took the bento container and stuffed it in column one, and had one set of pictures in bento container in column two, and stuffed in a different set of pictures.
All right. So and so I kind of did this wonky on purpose, right? So you're wanting to like even these out, basically? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, let's say you were going to just gap that
Okay.
so that they all looked okay.
Yep. So at that point, you would use one of the other bento stacks to
Okay.
create your grid, right? So yeah, I mean, you would start with the proper solution first. Because at that point you're creating a grid, right? And this bento container is not about creating grids. It's just about having a container and having this, even vertical spacing between your items.
Okay, let me rephrase it. If I took bento container and stuffed it in column one, bento container and stuffed it in column two, I
Yep.
can even everything out down that set of columns. That's what I was getting at. It
Got
would
it.
work within the columns, correct?
Yeah, here. So I'll show you that an example of that.
That's really what I was asking. Can I use the bento container? Let's say I throw in a bunch of photography stuff, and I want to throw, 10 pictures up and 10
Oops.
pictures up, and I want to have them evenly spaced. Bento container could do that. Of course, two columns, down two columns.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Now let's make these slightly different so that they're just the content's a little different. All right, I think that'll do it. All right. So in this layout, now if we were to look at let's look at that. Or is it? Here it is. All right. So here's the first column. And if you notice, it evenly spaced out all my items. Okay. I can't move my mouse over there. You're just going to, right? So you see that, right? So all the items are evenly spaced out. Okay. And if we look at this particular column, all the items are evenly spaced out as well. However, there's zero correlation between column 1 and column 2. It's not going to try to even them out for you. It's, again, that's because this isn't made to create a grid. It's purely just for establishing uniform vertical spacing.
Okay, so if I put 2 columns into bento container, would it do it across that the other way? I'm
Sure.
just trying to
Sure.
think of
All right.
how I
Yep.
would apply that.
Sure. All right. Here, let's do it again. All right. Or I'll do it above it. So it's now let's move. Let's just start over. All right. So we'll do let's do a new bento container. All right. And
Let's say you throw the 2 columns in there.
yep. Okay. And so let's go ahead and do I'm just gonna chuck that in so we have something, and we'll do some header and a header. Okay. Let's do 5. All right. So we have that, right? And then so now inside the container, I have multiple 2 columns. Okay. Now these two columns here, let's do 3 just so we can. All 3 of these 2 columns are the direct children of the container. Therefore, and you can see this right in edit mode. It actually works in edit mode. You'll see that the gap here and the gap here are uniform because it gaps the direct children of bento, of the bento container. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I was just wondering, can I
Yep.
do that and throw this? And obviously I would put the gutters in on the container itself, but
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, you're correct. So here, to have the gutters for the containers, you go into these and say add a little bit of gutter there, right? Just the horizontal.
Mhm.
And then at that point, voila.
Perfect. That's almost exactly what I want to do with a very simple demonstration of
Now,
something. Thank you.
this kind of looks like a grid because I used the same exact image, right? So, but if I were to, let's say plop a different image into here, right? Let's use like, this one, and over here we'll use a different image. Oops. And let's say we got this one, right? And then we preview again. So that's how it looks. Now, the gutter here and the gutter here are uniform. Does that make sense? Oh, you muted yourself again.
Yeah, I do that because I'm sniffling and coughing from my head thing, so I don't really want to ruin the entire thing. Yeah, so this could be absolutely useful in creating some wild little things down a page. And yeah, I have some brain stuff going on about
Cool.
what to do with that. Thank you.
Sweet. No problem. And again, I mean, this isn't like a game changer stack by any means, but here, let's show you. Let's take all these out of bento, right? Or actually, here, maybe I should copy them so we can have it like right on top of each other. Here, we're going to do this. All right. So there we go. And we'll take it out. Okay. So let's preview this. All right. So here, at the top, this is the one without bento container. This one has it, right? So here we have there's no gap right now in between each one, and here it's uniform. Now let's go ahead and add a little bit of gap here. Now in Foundation 6, it's not hard, right? Basically, you would go to each 2 column stack, okay, and then you can add in some gutter, okay, or a little bit more maybe, okay. And at that point, let's go ahead and preview that. And there we go. That's probably too much, right? But hopefully you kind of get the point here where if I ever wanted to modify this again in the future, basically I'd have to go to each one of these and then change every single one, right, to be what I wanted. Whereas down here, it's all controlled centrally, right? So it's just a little bit easier. Again, it's not a game-changing stack by any means, but a useful little tool. But I do like the idea. Yeah, probably. I don't know if I'll have time this afternoon, but tomorrow probably I'll add to my to-do list to create the little swatch, and then I'll get that released as Bento 1.6, so that we have that Bento container, and then the swatch version of that. I'll probably call it. I like Gap. I think that makes sense because that's pretty much what it is. It's a Gap. So maybe Bento Gap swatch or something like that.
The Gapper has arrived.
I think you shipped an update to Bento areas.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you. Let's go. Let's review that. Cool little setting. Actually, I added it for Matthias, who is here. Oh, he's logged in. I think he's maybe recording it. Oh, look, he is here. I added this for him last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. And let's open up the demo project and then let's show you what we did here. Okay, so Matthias wanted a very interesting layout where on mobile, okay, so we have 3 sections here, 3 sections of content. We have a main section, and then we have a sidebar section that has a couple images, and another sidebar section that has 2 more images. Okay, so on mobile, we wanted the main content, sidebar 1 and sidebar 2 right on top of each other. And then same thing for small. And then on medium, we wanted it to be the main area and then sidebar 1 and sidebar 2. So far, that layout transition can totally be done with column stacks. Okay, no issues. Right, but now when we go to large, we wanted to swap it so that the layout goes sidebar 1, main content, sidebar 2. Okay, that's much trickier with something like columns. You might be able to try to get it with if you really played around with Columns Pro and some of its shifting features, right? But this layout is very easy with Bento areas. Okay, why is it easy with Bento areas? Because we can kind of just define our layout with text. Okay, so if you've never played with Bento areas, you define the names of your areas. Okay, and you get to just kind of lay them out as plain text in the settings. So as you see for extra small, here, let's go ahead and hold on 1 second. There's my live tools here. Oh, shoot. I think it's this one. Let me add this bad boy. Okay. And if I do, oh, there it is. Okay. So hopefully you can see that a little bit better, right? So in here, I have main, side 1, side 2. Okay. And if you look in the Bento area stacks, I have you give each area its name. Okay. So this area, everything that's inside of this is called main. And then if we go down, everything inside this area is called side 1. And then everything inside this area is, of course, called side 2. Okay. And then we get to shift those out. So basically on small, we just have them on top of each other. Now, this is a very special syntax where you have to have it in quotes and whatnot. Okay. And each one has to be on a new line. Okay. Small has the same. Now let's go to medium. In medium, you're kind of creating a grid with text here, right? So I wanted main to be 1 area, okay, 1 column. So main spans both columns, or I'm sorry, both rows. And then we have side 1 and side 2 on top of each other. Okay. Now let's look at layout number 3. And here I just have 1 row. It's just side 1, main, and side 2. Right. And what's really cool with Bento is you get to kind of see these layouts build for you dynamically right there at the top, right? Which is pretty slick. Any questions on that? I mean, I haven't showed off any of the new features that I've added. I just kind of wanted to show you the problem that we're trying to solve. Any questions? No? Okay, cool. I'm gonna illustrate what the problem was. Okay, so let's go ahead and preview this. So in here on large, I have, my 3-column layout that I wanted. Sidebar 1, main content, sidebar 2. And if we go down, let's keep going. There we go. All right, now in this layout, depending on the size of your main content, when the main content was large, what you'll notice is I have what I want. I have what I defined, but it's not necessarily what I wanted. Okay, because while sidebar 1 and sidebar 2 are over here, I have this empty space, right? And if you're wondering what's going on, here, let's open up the inspector so we can kind of peek under the hood here. All right, so let's go ahead and inspect this. All right, so here is my Bento areas. Okay. And what you'll notice is it sucks that I can't keep the grid on while I have it selected. Okay. But if you notice this one main content area, if you notice it has split it into 4 areas, like it created a grid of 4 boxes. Okay. And that's because on medium, we go back to the stack, I created 4 boxes, right? Main, side 1, side 2. You see that? All right. Now, I told main that it needs to span both rows for column 1. Do you visually see that, everybody? Can I get an amen? Okay. Okay. Then now let's look at sidebar 1 and sidebar 2. Now, if you look, it did put sidebar 1 in the upper right quadrant, okay, up here, right? And it put sidebar 2 in the lower right quadrant. What is off here is the way that it sized everything. So basically what was going on is Bento was by default cutting this main section in half, right? So it was taking the main section because it knew it needed to create 4 quadrants based on my definition. And it knew that main was large, right? And since I didn't necessarily define any spacing for rows, it just kind of took the size of Bento or the size of the main container, split it in half, and then it based the size of the entire grid on that. Does that make sense? And then what it did is once it split it in half, it put sidebar 1 up there and sidebar 2 down here. So it did what I asked it to do. Okay. But that's not what I want. Right. So what I had to do was I added some new settings. Inside here, inside Bento areas, you could define sizing for medium or for the columns before. Okay. So you can define all the sizes for your columns. But what I added was the ability to define the size for rows as well. Okay. So what we'd want to do to fix this particular layout, since really the only layout that we need to have things aren't working how we want is in medium. So the default is auto, but what I want to do is I want to define, I know I have 2 rows, so I want to define the sizes for each row. Okay. And what I want to do is I'm going to just put in this auto 1FR. Okay. And let's go to my other page. I already had oh, there. Let's refresh this. And that fixed it. Okay. So if we look at this now, where is it? There it is. Okay. So now if we look at this, okay, you'll see, remember how before the main content area, remember it split it in half. Okay. Because it was essentially set to auto. Okay. Which means just automatically figure everything out. Okay. And what I did was I changed that to be auto 1FR. And essentially what that did is it said make the bot, basically what it did is said make row 2 as big as possible, 1FR. And then auto basically says just fill in whatever you can. Okay. So what Bento did is it said, okay, I know the minimum size for actually the sidebars at this point, because so basically it took the size of the sidebars into account now as well, and it fixed it all. So there we go. We can now supply row sizing as well as yeah, and other things you can do with this. Okay, so these FR, it's kind of a newer CSS unit. Think of it as a fractional unit. That's actually what FR stands for, fractional. Okay. If we look at these columns, okay, it's easier to display in column view. Okay. I have 3 FR, okay, and 2 FR right there. Okay. And what that means is if we take the entire width of all the columns, I want column 1 to be 3 fractional units versus 2 fractional units, right? So if we were to divvy this up into, let's say by 5, okay, because we take 3 plus 5, 3 plus 2 is 5, column 1 would get 3 of those, and column 2 would get 2 of those, right? So it's kind of essentially the same in this particular instance as going 2/3, right? If I were to do 1 to, or let's do like 2 to 1, right? At that point, this is now 2 times bigger than this.
Yeah.
Right? Right. So that's essentially, you can kind of play with these to kind of base their ratios off each other. Right. So again, I had it as 3 to 2. Right. But you could also do, I don't know, 4 to 2, which is going to be the same thing as 2 to 1. Right. But if we did like 4 to 3, there you go. Right. It's slightly off centered at that point. All right. So we have the well, I had it 3 to 2. Okay. Now take that same logic here. Now what auto does, and auto actually works here as well. I think if we did like 3FR auto, essentially what if this is a perfect example, okay, in this case, auto here basically goes to the smallest size that it can. Okay, so in this example here, the smallest size is the size of the text. Okay, and same thing for this, right? So the smallest size is the size of the text. And at that point, actually, if I do 1FR auto, it's going to be the same exact layout. Okay, because I set this to auto, and that's going to be the smallest it can possibly go. Okay, unless you do auto. If you were to set everything to be auto, it basically evens everything out. Okay. And if you do auto, you could just do auto, and then it just evens everything out. So if I were to have 3 columns, auto would set it to be 3 equal columns. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, same concept, but with rows here. Okay. When I set column or row 1 to be auto, the smallest that this first, I'm using my fingers, you can't see, but the smallest this row can be, which is this bit of text and the smallest height that can go is the size of these images. So that's what Bento decided to do. Okay. And then down here, I set it to auto. Now it is large because the smallest it can go is the size of the text. So that's why it made this particular column ginormous. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I know this sometimes these fractional units, when you mix them with auto, could be a little bit confusing, but hopefully that kind of answers that question there.
Where is a reference for what fractional units are going, that's what I wrote in the chat in the thing. Where are the definitions of fractional units coming from? So where would we say, okay, if it's, 800 pixels, is that
No,
one
it has nothing to do with it. It's all relative. So again, let's look at this layout in edit mode. And I should say that these same things are in all of the bento stacks. You'll notice that there are fractional units in there, and that allows us to again, let's do like 2FR, 1FR. Okay. So again, basically bento will analyze the size that it has, the full width. Okay. And basically I can say I want column 1 to be 2 times bigger than column 2. And that's what we have here. So this is column 1, this is 2FR, this is 1FR. So just think of this as breaking this out into, think you're playing with blocks or something like that, right? And I want to have this one 2 times bigger than this one. And at that point, it's 2FR to 1FR. It's like an aspect ratio. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I had it set to be 3 to 2, which is basically, again, this one is
3/5 and 2/5.
3 exactly. It's 3 units to 2 units. Now in this case, it's responsive, so it doesn't really, it's not based on the size. Again, it doesn't matter how big that is. It will always be the ratio 3 to 2. You see that?
Mm. Yeah.
Now, fractional units are only, I believe they're only supported inside of something called CSS grid. Okay, so these aren't things you're going to be using for like, in a width swatch. Okay, it's not a thing yet. Okay, so these are kind of something that is unique to bento at this time. Or any other, CSS grid based stack if they allow you to have access to settings like that. Okay. But yeah, these are, I think they're quite clever. I do like it. Rather than trying to think in my brain percentage wise, oh, I want this to be 60% and 40%, right? Which is essentially what 3FR and 2FR are, right? Yeah. Any questions? I forget who originally asked that. I think it was Steven. Steven, did that help out?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Would the next iteration maybe have like where you can increment the columns manually, like by like you have medium items 3. Could you imagine if we had medium columns and then your FR setting off to the side over there?
Now, if you wanted, you're not stuck with fractional units here.
Okay.
You can do, I want column 1 to be 300 pixels, okay, and then auto, okay, and at that point, that will be 300 pixels, and then this will automatically fill in, right? I decided, in the bento settings, instead of trying to handhold people through a lot of these settings, I did kind of make this semi-advanced in that there's a lot of power in learning these size settings. Okay. Yeah, if you want, and I kind of in the tooltip here, sometimes I can, whenever you want the tooltip to come up, it never comes up. And then whenever I want to take a screenshot of something, the tooltip comes up and I'm like, I didn't want the tooltip there. I think it's this, hold on. I think it's this. Oh, there it is. Oh, is that little, what the heck?
I saw it there.
Like seriously, whenever you want the tooltip, there he goes. Okay,
there you go.
There we go. So I try to give a decent explanation here,
Pitch
and
cool.
I know it's super small for you guys probably on Zoom. Okay, and in there you'll notice that I call out this thing called grid template columns. Okay, and I give a little explanation on various units that you can use. Okay.
So in what you got at the moment, Joe, you put in 300 pixels. Does that mean that's a solid 300 pixels now?
Yes.
So
If we preview this now, that was only on medium that I added it, right? But okay, so now obviously this isn't the layout that we wanted, but this main content is now fixed at 300 pixels.
Yeah.
in the
I thought it
entire
was.
medium breakpoint, you'll notice that it's not changing in size.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I
I thought-
that is fixed at 300 pixels for the entire size of the medium breakpoint until it goes. And then auto, obviously these columns here is auto, so that's the only ones that contracting and expanding.
I thought.
Right? And you could do something like 300, right? But this doesn't make sense in a responsive world, right? Because now it's fixed, and obviously that doesn't work. Oh, luckily it actually kind of works here because at 600 pixels is where it breaks, right? But that's now a fixed layout. So again, that probably doesn't make sense in a responsive world. And you could probably do like, I wonder if you did like 300 pixels to FR. I wonder what that would do. I think that's the same thing as auto, because at that point, fractional units will just expand the entire. Yeah. I was wondering if that would make this 600 pixels, but nope, it doesn't. The FR units are only used within relation to each other. Okay.
Yeah.
Oops. Don't want that. That looks horrible. What did I have? 3 FR, 2 FR. All right, there we go. And you could do the same thing. If you wanted a particular row in your layout to be static, you can do that too, right? Again, I don't think that makes sense in this layout, but let's say I wanted, let's say I was in, let's go to a different, it might make sense in this layout. Okay. So in this layout, I have a header, a main, a sidebar, and a footer. Okay. What if I wanted my header to be, and the header is, right now it's auto. Okay. So it automatically sizes it. But let's say I wanted it to be like 300 pixels tall and then auto for the rest. All right. So now my header, my row 1 is 300 pixels. Okay. Okay. And there it goes. It's 300 pixels tall. Again, it wasn't variable size to begin with, but you see, you can make even rows fixed height.
Mm.
Okay. So let's say this has let's say I wanted the footer and the header to be 300 pixels. I could do 300 pixels auto, 300 pixels. Now at that point, my header and my footer are fixed size, and then my main content will automatically just grow and shrink based on the size of the content. Now, you could fix size that, but again, that probably doesn't make much sense, right? But let's make this small on purpose, or let's make it big. Let's say 500 pixels. Okay. And now when I preview this, oh, I'm on the wrong breakpoint. Let's go large. There. All right. So now this main content I made it a static 500 pixels. Again, it probably doesn't make sense in this case, but just to show you that you can, make the size of rows and whatnot static sizes now with this. There we go. Cool. See, let me look in the chat. I know some people are posting on the chat. Let's see. Same here on 1.5. Oh, you're a tease. Yep. I like to tease you, Bill. Okay. Would it be possible to spread side 1 and side 2 alongside main evenly? So side 1 would be equal. So side 1 and 2 would be equal spread to the height of the main content.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but if you had the main content with the text, you have equal size.
We're talking about in this layout, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's say the main is consisting of some text, and then you have the two side 1 and side 2 on each side.
Yes.
But they kind of convert into having the, let's say, pictures in this case kind of spread evenly. So as the user is scrolling the content, the pictures on one side would be kind of evenly spread instead of just being clumped.
Oh,
at the-
so instead of being on the top here, you'd like, let's
Yes.
say these images to be spread out along this column.
Yes.
Got it.
If that
Yes.
makes sense. You know what I mean?
It makes total sense. And it is possible. It's not possible in the settings yet. Okay.
Gotcha.
This could be something. I mean, I'm gonna add a update to Bento anyway. If we were to go to, hold on, let's change my layout. Let's go here. Okay, so now we're in the wide layout. And for fun, let's make these 3 images. Right, in each one, just so we have 3. All right. So basically, here, okay, here's a perfect example, by the way. Okay, see, I had some spacing here. Okay, and then when I added a new picture, there's no spacing. Okay, so if we look at that, okay, let's see, where is the top image? I just added a margin bottoms 20 to this. Okay, now let's delete that because that we don't want to be hacky like that, because now the perfect example of I had this one off margin on the bottom of this. And then when I added in a new picture, it kind of screwed me because now I don't have the same margin there. Now I could add a utility class to add another bottom margin here, but let's do something better because we have something better to do that. Oh, better way to do that now, right? All right, so let's remove that bottom margin. Okay, sorry, I'm going off on a quick side tangent here, but it was just something now we can add bento. Oops. Now we can add a bento container to each one of these. And then there, yeah, 16 pixels. All right, I'll just keep it at 16. It's fine. And then we'll do container 1, 2, 3. Boom. Right.
Equally spaced.
And now they're evenly spaced.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, but actually, this could solve. Hold on 1 second. Let me inspect this really quick. All right. So that's one thing. That's not going to solve our problem that we were trying to solve. Okay. So I'm actually going to remove those now from these bento containers because we want to do something different. All right. But I did want to show that. Okay. Just to showcase that. All right. Okay. So now I have no spacing in between them. And what we want is align content. Have it hard coded to start. But if we did justify, I think no. Interesting. Is it align? There it goes.
Yep.
So now it that evenly spaced them out vertically.
Nice.
Another question then, Joe. Could you have the ones on your right in
Yes.
the right-hand column, could they always be on the screen? So as you scroll, they've stayed.
For that, you'd use something like the sticky stack to do that.
All right.
Possible, yes.
Nice. Okay.
I'll
So if I,
think, I'll,
if I
I'll
wanted
think
to
about
pick
how
side,
to I'll think about how to implement that. I'll think about it.
awesome. Thank you. Yeah, because
Problem.
I'm talking about the user engagement and the less amount of dead space on the side. They can focus on the pictures from from the side 1 and side 2 columns.
Yes. Yep. Here, let me play around with some ideas if you don't guys don't mind. Let's see if I added this as a feature to Bento container. I think that kind of makes sense. Okay, so if I did, all right, so here's the container. I would need to be able to make it full height.
Yeah.
And then give you the ability to align content various ways. So you could do it at the beginning, at the end, puts it at the end. Normal will space them out.
Oh, that's great.
Space around. So that gives what space around does is the space in between each, even giving the top and the bottom is even. That makes sense. So the space between, so this space is double this space, right? But it's evenly spaced around. And then space between is kind of similar to normal. How's that different than normal? It's not. Oh, no, it is slightly different. Space between. Oops. All right, so base and then space evenly. How is that? Oh, that makes the space actually the same between each. If you kind of see that. And then we have start, which is what I had before, which is at the beginning. Stretch gives. Okay. Okay. I like that. I'll add that as settings into Bento container. So that we can have control over that within the container. I like it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Oh,
Let me make a note. Hold on, give me a second. I'm going to make notes because I will totally forget. 1 second.
John, would it be possible to set the space relative to the height of the column, of the central column? So you can span according to the height of the
Yes.
bigger
So
one.
what? So you want this column to be the same size as this column?
Well, that's okay, but the spanning of the 3 images, the space should be relative to the height of the column.
Yes, and that's what it did. Yeah.
Voila.
Yeah. So what it did, so what I did is if you notice, I had to make it height 100%, which makes it
Correct.
the height of the tallest column
Identical.
here.
Mhm.
So it makes it the height of this text column. And then
Correct.
that spacing, all that spacing settings you were seeing were how
Voila.
to space them within
Voila.
the space that's available.
Okay, exactly that.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's see, that was let's see, Bento container. Line content. Cool. All right. Made note. I won't forget now. Oh, let me remind me about the swatch too. 1 second.
Maybe you can make the icon gold for Gap. That way I know exactly color coding for for make it color coding for dorks. I don't know.
I don't know, Gap, maybe black icon for void.
There you go.
Yeah, but then it won't show up on dark
Yeah,
or
right.
something when you're in Mac dark mode or something.
Yeah.
Even copying a fast mail and pasting it, if I'm in dark mode, somebody on another side doesn't see it because it comes out a different color, like white. So if somebody has Yahoo on Windows and I send it to them from fast mail using the dark background, they're like, you keep sending me blank messages. Yeah.
Oh, I opened this up, but I never explained what this was. So this is the documentation for grid template columns, and
Oh,
essentially whatever you type into this setting, I just inject it right here. So yeah, the documentation for this is exactly what this outputs. And same thing for instead of this is grid template columns. This would obviously be grid template rows. Okay, so there's also a rows doc, and again, the same thing. Whatever you type in, like whatever you would put here, that's what you'd put here. Okay, so I give you direct that setting has direct access to the CSS, which means you can even do some fancy stuff here, which is like min max values and stuff like that. You can do all of that. Okay, so I admit a little advanced, but I think if you stick with the examples that I have built in with the FR units, I think that's pretty simple to figure out. But yeah, anyone that wants more advanced, you can get more advanced. And the documentation is just the straight up documentation online.
do you have a link to that documentation? Because I'm into my CSS studying of.
Sure. If you guys, I think I've shown this app a few times. This is an app that I use called Dash. I don't even remember how much it is. I think maybe there's a free version. I'm not sure. Here, let's figure that out.
It's worth every penny if I can use it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Is
let me
there-
go to App Store. Is it on? Maybe it's on SetApp. Let's see if they've
Oh,
done it.
actually, yes, it is on SetApp. I'm pretty sure it is on SetApp. It's $15 without. Okay. So what is this app? Okay. This app, I use this app. It's kind of pivotal for me. Okay. And you can install the documentation for tons of programming languages. I have a lot installed here, but you can do things like HTML, okay, JavaScript, and CSS. And one thing that I love is that I use an app called Alfred. Okay, that's this right here. Okay, and I have an integration configured. So if I just type in CSS space, at this point, it's going to search the CSS documentation inside of Dash for me. And as you saw, I did grid, and it automatically starts auto filtering out. It was interesting. If you have the app open, it kind of does it on the fly, right? But let's say I wanted that one. I hit enter, and it automatically opens Dash to that particular documentation, right? Super cool. And again, I can do let's say HTML, and I want I don't know, input. Okay, there you go, and it takes me to the documentation for input. Okay, now all of this documentation is online. Okay, and in the app you can just do this and say copy online page, or I can say open online page, and all of this is online. Okay, this is the MDN web docs. And you can instead, if you don't want to buy the app, go just bookmark this website. Here, I'll put it in the chat if you want. Okay.
It's even got Foundation, HTTP,
Yes.
and tons and JavaScript, Joomla.
Yep. It's got everything.
This is worth $15.
Yeah.
Markdown.
So yeah. It just basically is an offline version of the online docs for a particular language, okay, or framework. And yeah, makes it totally searchable. It's all available offline as well. So like, if, I'm working somewhere on an airplane or whatever and don't have internet connection, it's all local. And because it's local, it's fast. So I love that. One thing I don't like, the latest version, they used to have like a tree view on this side. So like if I go into HTML, like you can browse the actual docs from here. Like you can go into guides and then, look through all the various guides. Okay. but they used to have the tree view over on the left of the docks, and I really liked that, and they got rid of it for this little doohickey in the middle, which I think is retarded. But whatever, you can still browse. It's just, I don't know, not as nice. I complained to the dev, but he disagreed with me and said sorry. Okay.
And you can integrate this with Atom, Xcode, Visual Studio, and so it now will reference back and forth too.
Yes.
Back to mute.
Wait. Wow, that took up a lot more time than I expected it to take up today. Any open questions? Peter, you got a question?
No, I said sorry about the silly question about the spreading the columns.
Oh, that wasn't silly at all. Hey, you know what? I mean, I love cool ideas like that because now it's going to be in the product and everyone gets it. So there we go.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Matthias, while I have you live, how's your Total CMS 3 situation going?
Totally broken.
Okay, well, I thought you said now it was working in preview though.
Yes, now it's working in preview, but until beta 5 or 6, I don't remember. With that version, I could publish on any server and could use it. Everything's working fine.
Mm-hmm.
And from version beta 7 on, all pages I publish with Total CMS 3 are blank.
Okay,
Completely blank.
so even after you reinstalled it.
Yeah.
Okay. What I recommend you try to do is go into the server and trash the RW common folder, and then do a republish all.
I did already clear everything.
Oh, you
Since
cleared
it's only-
everything. Oh, okay, and it
Yeah.
still has problems. Okay. Well, do you know if the log file is getting updated again now? Because before I would like visit the web page and it would cause an error, but then I would never see any errors in the log file.
Yeah. I think I will have to contact the provider so that he tells me more about this log file updating.
Okay.
I'm not used to that, to do
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Bill, are you here? Bill Burden?
Did I hear somebody call my name?
Excellent. Have you've published beta 7 to your server?
I believe so. It's been a week or so since I've been playing, but yes, I have some of it doing some things. I've kind of
Okay.
screwed it up pretty badly, but
Okay, but the pages load, correct? Like,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't do any previewing without publishing, so yeah, I have to publish
Okay.
all the time.
I forgot to tell you, Joe, I have just 2-3 hours ago, I did publish the same test project with only one admin stack and one content stack to the FTP server of another provider, a completely other provider. It's Strato in Germany, and the same. So it maybe even is dependent on the provider.
Do you have MAMP? Do you use MAMP at all?
I have MAMP, but never used it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, the log file will tell us all, and if I can see what the error is, then I can fix it. Yeah, without knowing what's going on with that particular server, I don't know what it could be specific, because obviously I know Bill says it's working on my server, works on Bill's server. So I'm trying to think what it could be. I don't know, maybe a locale, maybe I have a locale bug where the server is set to German locale and it barfs. I'm not sure. It's possible. I didn't change anything like that in version 7, at least that I'm aware of. So yeah, it's and the application is large. So I'm just saying it worked in 6 and now it's not. I really need to know why. So I'm sorry, but it's like I need to know the error. And once I know the error, I can start fixing it and get a fix out. But yeah, that's kind of important. I'm sorry.
The only error I see in Google Chrome is when I try to view that published TCMS3 page is what is it? Error 500.
Yes. So what that means is it was a P. So error 500 means there was an error with PHP loading the page. Okay. Or it could also mean like a problem in the htaccess file or something like that. That's possible. So, but I don't believe it's an htaccess problem for you because it was happening even when I deleted the htaccess file. So I don't believe it's that. And I did verify like on your server that I deleted or I commented out where Total CMS was getting loaded, and the page did load. Okay. And then when I turned back on Total CMS loading on that web page, it got a 500 error. So it's definitely something with PHP with Total CMS loading. But when I looked at the error logs, nothing was getting sent. So I don't know where those errors are going. But yeah, if once I figure it out, it probably most likely going to be a quick one, I would think.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
The published TCMS3 beta 5 or 6 version is still online, I told you. And
I mean, if it's beneficial to you, I can give you an older version if you need to work on something. I can give you an older version, but we're probably going to be in the same boat once I ship another update. Trying to figure out what the problem is.
Right. So Total CMS beta 5 or 6 is running on the server flawlessly, and so not.
Okay.
And not only on that server, but also on other servers. Yeah. Can't imagine what that could be.
Yeah. Do not know.
Yeah. I contact the provider. Yeah.
He hasn't got. Yeah, it's been like 3 days. It's been like 3 days. No, they haven't been able to help you out yet.
I didn't have time to ask them again.
Okay.
I'm working, and but I think I will ask them tomorrow again. So we have an answer this week, and I will tell you, of course, and then maybe we find a solution.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Excellent. Sorry for the problems.
No problem.
I guess that's why we call it a beta.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
Anyone have any other questions before we call it a day? If you're curious about Total CMS 3, I can talk about that, or
please do.
I'm actually still on notification badges for my site, and I have your video here, and I'm like trying to go back to that, but I'll save that for Friday.
Okay.
That's going to be a Friday question.
Nice.
And I need files and depot. Oh, you know that.
Yes. Yep. Files and depot. They're on my beta 9 list. So this next beta is going to be user authentication and some other backend stuff that I have to get done. And then after that, we're going to start working on files and depots and style text uploading. Because right now style text, you can't upload files into it right yet. So we'll get that working. And a big part of that is I want to get file chunking working as well.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Yes. That way you guys can upload large files. So file chunking is actually, it's so annoying. I have to admit it is not easy thing, but yeah, we'll get it done.
Ask Scott, he has a stack for that. Scott
it's getting it working within the application that I'm working on. I do have it working like in a standalone script, but yeah, it's just different in an entire application view, which is different. The way the code works is different. So yeah, it's a little challenging, but we'll get it done, I promise. Yeah. So yeah, all that's set for beta 9. And I don't really have much to show off. I haven't done any work on Total CMS since I shipped beta 7. Well, I did a couple small little things, but nothing to show. I fixed a couple small bugs, but nothing to show you guys yet. Yeah. Let's see what else. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I released because last week I shipped pop-up caption. That took up most of my week, which is really cool. If you guys haven't checked that out, nice stack. And then this week I have actually been working on Stacks Pro, some helping Isaiah with some automated testing of the new template macros and making sure that they work properly, so that we guys can get a new beta out. Okay.
Any idea when? Will it be weeks or months? What do you think? I know you don't know it, but
yeah.
what do you think?
You mean for the next beta or for it to be released?
Next beta. Yeah.
My goal for him was September 1st, and I think we're close. So I'm gonna say weeks.
Okay.
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 So yeah.
Mhm.
I was supposed to have the release candidate last night, but I gave him a couple last minute bugs that I found. So hopefully by the end of this week, I will have a release candidate. And even if the release candidate is close to functional, I might do it might be next week's live stream. Okay. So that we can start promoting that and getting a little bit of hype built around it. Cause I know a lot of people are chomping at the bit for that.
Will it be ready for creating sites with it or? Not
Foundation
really.
6 works in this release. I do plan on overhauling the current Foundation 6 theme that I built for Stacks Pro. I'm going to merge the theme and site styles. Okay. So there will be no more site style stack. All site styles will be inside of the theme, which I think will be cool. I think that's where it should be. It's where it belongs. And that probably won't be available yet, but you don't really need it to. You can still work out how we work now with site styles. But I forget where I was going with that. But yes, will it build sites? I'm sure there's going to be bugs, but Foundation 6 does work in the current release. The work I did this week did fix a lot of issues that there could have been. So hopefully, yeah, I'm going to give my best for whatever this beta released. I'm going to try to use it full time. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to try to use it full time. There are, to my knowledge, all of my stacks seem to work. I haven't tested every feature in every stack, obviously. So there's going to be, I'm sure, some caveats or something, right? With the exception of there is one stack that 100% will not work in Stacks Pro. Okay. And that is Portal. It is not very widely used stack. And the reason it won't work in Stacks Pro is that it is highly configured to exactly how RapidWeaver publishes files. Okay. And Stacks publishes things slightly differently. So I'd have to completely rebuild it to work with how Stacks Pro publishes. And I'll be honest, with some of the features Stacks Pro has, like layouts, I'm not sure Portal's really even going to be needed anymore. Okay. I'm not against redoing Portal. It'll probably have to be, I mean, I'd have to completely rewrite it. Because it's just different. So I don't know when or if that will happen. I'm not totally against it, but yeah, I'm not sure it's really required to have any longer with Stacks Pro.
Joe, is it reasonable for me to hope that Stacks Pro would allow me to play with Total CMS 3 preview?
The current release that I have, Total CMS 3, does not work. But I submitted the bugs to Isaiah. That was some of the bugs I submitted to him this week. So again, it currently doesn't work, but I'm hoping that it works in this beta. Okay, but yeah, I'm not sure yet. Again, obviously, like I said, my goal is to have Stacks Pro be my default. So I'm hoping that I can get that to work in Stacks Pro in preview.
Thanks.
No problem. If you guys are curious here, I'll share this. Why not? So you guys can actually see some of Stacks Pro. Okay. Okay. So this is what I built for Isaiah this week. If you're familiar with a lot of these little macros, there's a lot of these macros, mostly they're for Stacks developers. Okay. But we need to basically ensure that all of these variables work everywhere. So do they work in CSS files? Do they work in JavaScript files? And they could be actually placed in those CSS and JavaScript files in different ways. Okay. And so this particular stack analyzes every single variable in every single type of file. There's about 15 different types of templates that we can have within Stacks. So it goes through each one and analyzes the output. And as you see, I just gave this to him last night. So there's obviously a bunch of errors. Some of these are the same errors for every single template. So there aren't that many individual errors, but yeah, it's just kind of a cool automated test that I built for Isaiah last night. And yeah, this is Stacks Pro. Has anyone here not seen it? The new thing here is layouts. Yeah. So I'm not going to go into all. I know a lot of you have already seen that. So, but yeah, it exists. This is what I built this week for Isaiah. Some automated testing for a lot of these macros, so that we can make sure that all the stacks that you guys have installed work seamlessly in Stacks Pro.
Clever.
Sweet. Any other questions, guys? Or else we'll call it a day. No? Sweet. Cool, guys. Hopefully, some of you, I'll see you on Friday at the Hangout on Friday. If not, we'll see you guys in the future on the community. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Joe.